Hi, everybody. Welcome. If you're just joining us, welcome. We would love it if you would put into the chat where you're going to be studying abroad so we can see where everybody's going. Whoa, we have somebody going to Italy, Montana, Czech Republic, South Korea. Awesome. Puerto Rico, France, Seoul, Vermont, Greece, Finland, Tokyo, Chile. Another person going to Seoul, Washington, Milan. Awesome. Australia, Spain. Another for Australia. More for South Korea. Cool. Welcome. If you're just joining us, we would love it if you would put in the chat where you're going to be studying abroad. Virginia, Brazil. Another for Spain. Awesome. Hong Kong, London, Thailand. Great. Welcome, everybody. Another one for Barcelona. Awesome. Great. Two folks coming to the US. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. France. If you're just joining us, we would love it if you would put in the chat where you're going to be studying abroad. We're going to get started in just a second. Oh, another one for France. Great. Cool. Somebody going to Iwan, South Korea, Japan. Awesome. Okay, thank you all for joining us. My name is Rachel Gordon. I'm the Director of Enrollment Management here at ISEP. And we've got my colleagues Jackie and Amanda here as well. I'm going to turn it over to them for a quick second.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jackie D'Amico Farah. I'm the SSO for the United States, Canada, and Southeast Asia. So before we get into our panel today, we do have a couple of polls. So the first poll is about community spaces. So if you can look at these and choose one and see what spaces you're interested in participating before you go abroad, just so we can have that information. Give everyone like a couple more seconds.
This is great. It looks like we have a lot of folks interested in a community space for women abroad, some interested in a community space for Black students abroad, some for LGBTQ students abroad, some for foodies abroad. Cool, this is great. Awesome. Thank you all. And now we're going to go into our next poll.
So our next poll is, have you completed your acceptance package? Yes or not yet. It's okay if you haven't.
Okay, cool. Looks like about 3/4 of you have completed it already, which is amazing. That's awesome. And about a quarter of you haven't completed it yet. So we're going to talk, for those of you who haven't, really quickly about how to complete your acceptance package.
Yeah. So going off of what Rachel was just talking about the acceptance package. So for those that haven't, your acceptance package is located in your ISEP dashboard in your acceptance package tab. So it's highlighted there in yellow. Usually students have 3 weeks from the time you receive your acceptance package to complete it. So you do have a couple of weeks to kind of go through that and read it over. If you have any questions, let your SSO know. In your acceptance package, there are 5 main sections that will need to be completed. So that first one is your program information and contract. It kind of just gives you much more information about your housing, meals, your university, those kinds of things. So definitely read that over. If there's anything that looks a little questionable or confusing, again, reach out to your SSO. We'd be happy to help you. Next is your medical form. So ISEP and your host university will utilize this information to ensure that any support services that you need are arranged accordingly and can support you in the case of an emergency. The next is a program deposit or acceptance fee. So for those doing ISEP exchange, you're going to do the acceptance fee. For anyone doing an ISEP direct program, you will pay the program deposit. Again, those are going to be in your acceptance package, but you'll also find them in the invoices and payments tab. And then lastly, enroll in health insurance. So for anyone going on an ISEP exchange program, you must enroll in insurance at least 45 days before the start of your program. But just remember that many countries require proof of insurance enrollment for your visa application. So just make sure that you have enrolled in the insurance in case you need it for your visa application. And then finally, just to note, your home ISEP coordinator signature is required for part of your acceptance package. So that's where you see at the top, it says coordinator signature. That's your home ISEP coordinator. So if it still says in progress and you've completed everything else, you can email them or you can email your SSO for assistance in getting your coordinator to sign it. And then check with them about any outstanding actions from your home university that you'll need to complete. And now we're going to get into the panel. So I will let Rachel take over.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for being here today. As I mentioned, my name is Rachel Gordon. I'm our Director of Enrollment Management here at ISEP, and I'm going to moderate our panel today. I'm going to introduce our panelists, and if you all could just give a quick wave. It looks like Matthew's running a little bit late, so hopefully he'll join us in a bit. But we are very happy to have Chase with us from Morehouse College, who's currently in Spain at Universitat Pompeu Fabra. We have Emily from Fort Lewis College, who's in the United Kingdom at York. And we have Britton with us from Vermont State, who is currently in Switzerland at Freiburg.
Rachel, Matthew's here.
Oh, Matthew's here now too? Okay, great. Welcome. Hi, Matthew. Thanks for joining. So we
Yeah,
have
sorry
Matthew.
about that. Terry's running a little late there.
Oh, no worries. It happens. So Matthew is joining us from Montana State University and is currently in Austria at TU Graz. So thank you to our panelists for joining. And I want to encourage all of you who are here attending today, if you have any questions, this is all about answering your questions and making sure that you know what to expect for your semester abroad. So please put your questions in the Q&A and we'll make sure to ask our panelists. So go ahead and start putting your questions into the Q&A. We'll make sure they get asked. But I'm going to start off with the first question to our panelists. And I'll open this one up to anybody who wants to answer first. Can you talk to us a little bit about your arrival experience and what is your number one tip for settling into your new host city and really making yourself feel comfortable in your host city? What would you advise that other students do? Anybody can start.
Yeah. You go, Britton.
Okay. Yeah, I think the first couple things that I did when I got settled in was get the key to your apartment first, because that's a big key. Get settled in, and then I think finding a grocery store was my next most important thing.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of Britton, I had a friend that wasn't paying attention to the arrival guide, and they weren't able to get their keys over the weekend, so they had to spend a couple nights in a hostel uh, because they weren't able to get their keys. So if you make sure you know when your slot is to go get your keys, I think that's a big thing to remember.
Read those arrival instructions. They're very
Yeah.
detailed for a reason. So yes, that's great advice. Make sure you read your arrival instructions. Yep. Anybody else?
I think my piece of advice is just making sure you have some form of communication, whether that's a SIM card for you, whether that's like a data plan on your phone or something, just so that you're able to communicate, and then maybe have your top people you can contact for help. Like for me, that would have been like my campus security at my college, or like my information center, anything like that, just in case if anything does go wrong, you're prepared to kind of handle something. But yeah, that's my advice.
Good advice. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
got
I'll
it.
go.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go, Jace. Go for it.
Yeah. First off, I just want to say it's a pleasure to be up here to be able to talk about my experience. I hope what I have to say and what we all have to say can help all of y'all. And whatever you want to know, I know there's somebody, Nina Scott, I believe she's going to Barcelona. So if you want to reach out to me wherever you're going, I'm available. We can talk. To answer the question though, I'd say if I can only say one thing on this panel, one piece of advice, it would be to embrace curiosity while maintaining safety. I had my best time, best study abroad moment, which was finding a Spanish church because I had the curiosity to ask people giving food to homeless people, hey, what organization are y'all with? And they invited me to their church. And now I was able to have that experience of making local friends, getting invited to the Spanish cookout, and also I have friends there who I still talk to this day. So that's how I embrace curiosity. But it's also important to keep in mind that you are a tourist at the end of the day, and that's how other people are going to see you. And with you being a tourist, prime you are a prime audience for a certain demographic of individuals who want to take advantage of you. So be aware that everybody's going to be trying to sell you something to persuade you that you need something, but don't fall into the trap of you need to do something right now. Always do your own research first and then make a decision when you're ready.
I love that. I think our definite goal for all of y'all is to embrace your curiosity while you're abroad. I love that. And I think we also, and we talk about this a lot when, especially when you do our health and safety webinars, right? About having approaching things cautiously. Embrace curiosity, but approach with caution and a good dose of, common sense, right? Okay, so there's tons of questions in the chat. The first one, I'm going to provide a little bit of information, then I'll let you all jump in. So the first question is, how can we find other students before our semester abroad that we can connect with? So I'll tell you what ISEP will do first. So ISEP, we send out our Connect With forms, which is an opportunity for you to put in your social media, things like that, to be able to connect in advance with other students who are going to be studying abroad in your host country for that semester. So definitely keep an eye out for the Connect With forms because that will be the #1 way to connect prior to study abroad. But for our panelists, do you want to talk about a little bit about your experience meeting other students and how you've met some other students? Anybody want to take it?
I can.
Yeah.
So I think my university was really helpful when I got here. They had a couple of like we had a big orientation event where we got to meet some fellow international students. I found one of the people who's neighbors to me is also from the US, and so we've been like going grocery shopping together, like cooking dinner together, because that makes it a little bit easier. So orientation was really helpful, but they also did like an international student like social outreach event where we all got to go chat again even after orientation. So I think little events like that at the beginning of your semester or your year or however long you're going can be really helpful. But yeah, also just if you're living with other people, roommates or flatmates, housemates, whoever you live with can be a really good way to make friends. I think easier that way.
Yeah, I think taking full advantage of the welcome events was huge for me. My host university put on quite a few they were really fun to go to, and it's nice to mingle with all the other exchange students. And also, if you're located in Europe, I'm not sure if it's the same for every school, but they tied us in with the Erasmus students, and they also host a ton of events. So those have been a ton of fun to meet new people as well.
Going off what Matthew said, my school also has the Erasmus group, the Erasmus Student Network. So they host events where you can meet other international or local students. So that's a good thing. Obviously, once classes start, you can meet people there. And one thing that's helped me is going to our university sport events. So there's tons of different options, at least in my university, for you to go do a sport that you love and meet like-minded people that way.
Yeah. At my university, we did not have Erasmus. My recommendation for anybody who also does not have Erasmus is talk to your study abroad coordinator. Ask them if they know of any other students who are going where you're going and to see if they'd be willing to connect with you. That's how I met my friend who is also named Chase from Morehouse, and we ended up spending a lot of time together while we were in Barcelona. So talk to your study abroad coordinator. That's what I say.
Awesome. Our next question is about travel. For any of you who have traveled during your semester, how much have you been able to travel and how have you budgeted for any trips that you took? We'll open this up to anybody who wants to jump in first.
I can take it.
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
had the opportunity. Oh, you want to go, Matthew?
you start. You start.
Okay. Yeah, I've had the opportunity to go around Switzerland. That's where I'm studying, and there's a lot of cool cities and Alps that you can visit. So there's a good mix of rural and cities. And I also got the chance to go to Rome. I'll be going to Paris in a couple weeks with my friends. So if you're in Europe, at least for me, the travel's easier and it's connected, but it is expensive. So the way that I've been able to budget is using part of my stipend for that and kind of going as cheap as possible, whether it be staying in a hostel, buying groceries instead of eating out when you go somewhere, and just details like that.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of Britain, I've been able to do a ton of travel too within Europe. The transportation network here is crazy coming from the US. It's so nice and easy to hop on buses or trains or even flights that are uh, relatively inexpensive. Um, yeah, for just kind of like to give you some numbers, I was able to go to Copenhagen, Denmark for a couple nights, and I think including the flight, a hostel for a couple nights, and food, I think I was able to do it for around 150 USD. Um, so I think that was pretty budgeted. Like I stayed at a pretty cheap hostel and didn't eat out too crazy. Um, but yeah, it was a great time. Copenhagen's awesome if you guys are able to get up there and check it out. But yeah, that's kind of one example for travel.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to 3 places while I was studying abroad. I went to Paris, France. I went to Rome, Italy, and I went to Valencia, Spain. How I budgeted for those trips was very poorly. Do not take a page out of my book, what I'm about to tell you. What I did was I saw the plane ticket, I saw the hostel, and I mentally budgeted maybe like $100 to $200 for food because I am a foodie. I really do enjoy food. I was gonna get that. So I believe for each one of my trips, it was between $300 to $500. And especially when I went to Paris because I ended up having a Michelin star experience. And even though I had to take out a bank loan for that, it was still really, really cool. And no, that was a joke, by the way. I did not take out a bank loan, but it was still a good experience.
It's like, wait, let's not advise that people take out loans for dinner. That sounds amazing though. Yeah. You want to go, Emily?
Yeah, I just have something really quick. I said earlier and I thought was good. I have noticed I have not traveled as much farther away just because I have been trying to budget quite a bit. I know that some of the farther trips, which I'm still in Europe, but it's a little harder. Flights are a little bit more expensive. Trains are a little bit more expensive to get anywhere outside of this country. But I think it's also can be a little underrated to kind of explore where you're at and not necessarily like exactly in your city, but maybe like take a train an hour outside of your city, maybe go to a museum or something. You can take little day trips and then it kind of eliminates the need to like book accommodation, which can get expensive, the need to eat out all the time if you're anywhere, but like Britton said, groceries is really a good idea if you are going to travel on a budget. But yeah, I would just recommend like traveling around where you're at, maybe your home country while you're abroad, and just exploring that because that's kind of your home for that little period and just really getting to know it.
Awesome. Okay. Our next one will open up to anybody too. Is there anything you would have done differently to prepare for your time abroad? Does anybody have something they would have done differently?
I'll start because this is a very minor detail, but I forgot to pack a towel. And after a long, long trip of travel, the first thing you want to do when you get in your apartment is take a shower. And I had to go looking to buy a towel. So that was one thing I regret. Very minor, but if you have room for it, pack a small towel.
No, that's good advice. Pack a small towel. Anybody else?
Yes, I I implore everybody in this chat to hear what I'm going to say to you, which is do not mess with the TSA. They will rock your stuff. I had some poor experiences with the TSA. They took my scissors. They took my scissors. That wasn't fun. They were my mom's scissors. And in addition, I implore you to look at the regulations of each TSA at each airport because the rules at the airports in the United States may not be the same for the rules in, say, Denmark or Switzerland. An example, I had my my toothpaste, I my hair conditioner, all of those liquids. And when I came from America, it was cool. But when I went to my layover in the Netherlands, they wanted me to fit everything I had into a 1 liter plastic bag. And I'm like, they did not have me do that. It's just if it's all in a 3.4 ounce container, then that's good. But no, they want it all to not only fit in a 100 millimeter container, but they want you to put every container with liquid in a little plastic bag. So I ended up losing some beloved hair product, which I still mourn to this day. So, moral of this story, put your liquids in your check bag and check the regulations on each layover of your flights.
Definitely especially if you have connecting flights in different countries. Check the rules for those countries. Good note. All right, next question. For those of you who had to apply for a visa, do you have any recommendations on the visa process and how to smooth out the visa process? I'll also do a little plug for if you have not been able to attend your ISEP visa workshop, you can watch the video, or it might be coming up next week, your visa workshop.
Yeah. So I did have to get a visa, and I guess you just follow all the rules, do all of that. But then, so when I got my appointment to get my biometrics done, like the fingerprint and whatever else they do, it was not for another month, which I thought was too long because I needed the residence permit for other things. And I guess residence permit's a little different than the visa, but I needed that as well. And I had my academic advisor or my ISEP coordinator reach out to the actual uh, service. They call it SPOMI in Switzerland, and they sped up the process and got me they got me an appointment like 1 week in advance instead of a whole month to wait. So I don't know if this works in every country, but at least the people at my college were able to speed up the process for me, which was very useful.
That's great. That's awesome support from them. Um, okay, our next one is specifically for
I'm
Matthew.
sorry.
It's actually about life at Montana State. So they're asking if you know how does the gym situation work at Montana State? Can I go to any fitness studio on campus?
Yeah, so we actually just opened up a brand new student wellness center at Montana State this last fall. Yeah, so we have a brand new spot. You just have to scan in with your CAT card. It's your little student ID that you'll get. I'm assuming pretty close to arrival. Um, but yeah, I think that's the biggest place for fitness. They have a good weight setup. They have a swimming pool in there. They have bikes. They have an indoor track. Yeah, it's a pretty nice spot. Um, I think they're still working out a couple of the kinks, as with any new opening. But yeah, it's a good spot, and you'll be set up well for any fitness you can get up to.
Thanks. Yeah, I forgot to mention at the beginning of our panel that our panelist who's studying in the United States is unfortunately not able to join us at the last minute. But if you have questions about studying in the United States, all of our panelists do study also in the United States, so they can speak to the student experience in the United States. And if you want to ask more questions about the international student experience in the United States, we can also help connect you with somebody who's studying abroad in the US later after this panel.
Excuse me.
Yeah, did you want to say something, Chase?
Yeah. Before we moved on, I wanted to offer my answer about the visa application process. So I made some pretty bad mistakes that ended up costing me a lot of money and time. So don't do what I do. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, so I had to go to the Miami consulate to apply for Spain. In doing so, I underestimated one key thing, which is the time of the appointment of actually getting the visa. Do not be deceived by the strict deadline. They say it might only take 30 minutes. Do not be deceived by that. When I got there, it took me an hour and 30 minutes for them to finally get to me to receive my paperwork and for me to actually be able to leave. And because of that, I ended up missing my flight. So that was not very fun. So when you do make your appointment to fly to your consulate, be sure to cushion a lot of time between the end of your appointment and when you have to return back to your location. And that's only if you need to fly out to your visa consulate.
Yeah, Definitely, sometimes consulates can run really far behind, so be careful about leaving lots of time to make it happen. Okay, our next question is, can you all talk about the type of support and information that you received when you arrived at your host site? All of our host sites are required to do an orientation when you arrive. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and what it was like arriving at your host site and what types of support they provided?
Yeah, I
I
can
can.
start off. Oh, do you want to? You can go ahead, Molly. All right. Yeah, my I think it's gonna vary probably school to school. But my host advisor, Marlene, she's awesome. She was always open. Like her email was always open. She was always very good at responding. Um, yeah, she's very welcoming, and I'm assuming that's kind of a common theme throughout the advisors. But yeah, I've had a great experience with mine so far.
Awesome.
Yeah, I feel like Arrival, I felt like there was a lot of support. My contact here would be Clara Pastille. I love her. She's great. I actually haven't interacted with her a lot since the beginning of the semester just because I haven't had a lot of questions. But yeah, I just think like I said before, like they have a campus security team here, which is not just security, but like if I need help with anything, like even getting into my accommodation, I can give them a call 24/7. So I just kind of feel like there is somebody that I can contact no matter what if I need help. And then they also have the info center on campus open 24/7. So I felt that the support has been pretty good. Yeah.
I concur. The support for my program in Barcelona, Spain was awesome. They did a mandatory check-in in the middle of the semester. And in my experience, though, I didn't think they were entirely necessary because I felt comfortable navigating my housing people without them necessarily. And though the support was definitely there, I personally did not need to reach out to them a lot.
Nice. Well, it's good to know that it's there even if you don't need it, right? Anybody else?
Yeah, similarly, mine's very supportive. They help move my residence permit along, and I would definitely agree that the first week you're here, it's you get to see them a lot more, whether it be at orientation events or helping tie up loose ends. And as the semester wears on, you see them less and less. But they're always there for support if you do need it.
Um, okay, so for those of you in a foreign language speaking country, how long has it taken for you to become fluent if you already knew some of the language or to understand the locals better? It's a great question. Chase, Britton, or Matthew, do any of you want to speak to your language experience?
Sure. So when I first got to Spain, I went in with the understanding that the best way I could extract a life-changing experience from this was developing fluency in Spanish. So for a little background, I've been taking Spanish, I almost don't want to say it, for 6 years, classes. But when I actually got there, I didn't know squat. I could not have a conversation for anything. I have a recording which you none of you will ever hear of just how bad my Spanish was. I couldn't even express how I was grateful to be working with my coworkers in my volunteer program. So it took me 3 months of talking to strangers, of putting myself in a Spanish church environment, which they spoke nothing but Spanish, of forcing myself to put my phone in Spanish, put my laptop in Spanish, start listening to my songs in Spanish. I literally looked up the Spanish cover to a song called, I think it's called Chihiro by Billie Eilish, and it's a beautiful Spanish cover. But yeah, I ended up just really immersing myself, and now I'm at the point where I'm happy to say my Spanish is decent. I can have conversations
That's
entirely in
awesome. That's a huge
Spanish.
win.
Thank you. So yeah, for those who have a similar goal of going to your country to learn the Spanish, I think it's important to keep in mind not to expect, okay, I'm going to this country and I'm gonna come out fluent no matter what I do. It's important to realize that you still have to be very intentional because it's very possible that you go in, speak only English, and come out and you're like, yeah, I picked up a few things. But yeah, if you want to learn it, you gotta put yourself in that uncomfortable zone. But it's so worth it. Trust me.
Yeah, I think to take full advantage of your city abroad experience, it's pretty big to immerse yourself, especially in the language. If I had one regret, it's probably that. I only took about 2 semesters of German before going to Austria. I wish I would have dove in harder. And I picked up small phrases here and there to be able to be courteous and also maybe order a simple meal at a restaurant. Um, but that is one thing that I wish I took more seriously was learning the language.
I also am more in Matthew's boat where I'm not fully fluent at all. So I had taken no French in my city. It's different in Switzerland because part of this country speaks French, part speaks German, part speaks Italian. So depending where I go, I would need very strong linguistic skills, which I do not have. And in high school, I took Spanish, so that didn't really help me either. But I am in the beginner A1 French class, and I'm able to, again, be courteous. I can order a few things, but that's still a work in progress. And between the class, and I met other French people that are willing to talk to me at the full beginner level, which is also very helpful to start the process of learning.
Awesome. Okay, so our next question is, can you talk a little bit about your experience as an American abroad? And do you ever, like, how have you experienced that, especially recently?
Yeah, this one's been kind of interesting lately. I'm not sure if you other panelists have felt it. It has been kind of weird to tell people you're specifically from the US. Some people kind of let out a little sigh, or there's some funny little remarks even in class that they maybe comment on our politics or something like that. But it has been kind of funny. Um, Nothing that I'd label as maybe like crazy like discrimination, but like little remarks here and there that have been like, oh, that's kind of funny. Like I didn't realize you guys thought that about us or something like that. Um, but yeah, nothing too bad.
Yeah, same. Yeah, no, it's never been anything like I've never felt like I don't know, singled out or anything in any way, in any bad way. But yeah, I think day one, I got into a taxi from the train station to my accommodation, and the taxi driver was like, "Oh, you're American," and I was like, "Yeah," and then made some comments about yeah where we were politically, and like I've had some of my classmates ask me as well. But yeah, never anything outstanding or crazy. But yes, it's been mentioned a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. You want to go, Chase?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I agree. It's been pretty funny telling people that, yeah, I'm from America. And actually, I learned that America, like if you say you're from America, they might think you're from like South America. So then I switched to saying I'm from the USA. And when I said that, it's like, oh, okay. Uh, I questioned what do you like Trump? I'm like, so that's what you want. Okay. That's the question. All right. And so uh people are very curious about especially your opinion on Trump, but if you go abroad, especially in Europe, you should expect that they might ask you questions like that, like your political stance, and you can take it however you want.
Yeah, I think I would echo that. I think in a lot of countries around the world, political conversation is really commonplace in public, and I think it's good for all students to expect that people would follow US politics and just want to ask you questions. I think anticipating kind of more open conversation maybe than you're used to is something to expect. A lot of curiosity. Hi. Our next question. What things would you recommend taking with you to get started, or what did you wish you had brought from home? Is there anything you wish you brought from home?
Yeah, maybe one thing that I wish I brought more of was maybe more sentimental things. I packed pretty light and I only brought kind of the necessities. And to make my spot more homey, I wish I would have brought maybe like a couple like the paintings or something had up in my room. Uh just a few small things like that I think would have been pretty nice to bring along.
We hear a lot students saying they wish they brought more photos from home, like things just to
Mhm.
hang up in your room and just feel more like you had your people from home around you.
Yeah, I would
Anybody else?
agree with that. One of my first few days here, I stopped in then and printed out a couple photos of some loved ones and posted those up.
That's great. Anybody else have anything they wish they brought from home?
Wish I brought euros. American dollars are useless.
Euros. Yes, bringing some currency, so a little bit of cash. It's a good idea. Another thing that I would say that we hear sometimes is if you have like a major comfort food that's really specific to your home culture and is not perishable. So like the number one, if you're from the US and you're going abroad, some people like to bring a jar of peanut butter because you can't always purchase peanut butter in other countries. And some people are like, I will be so upset if I have to go 3 months without a single bit of peanut butter. That's just one that some people do. Okay, our next question. Any tips for embracing newfound independence or greater independence, I guess? Not necessarily, might not be more independence, might be the same amount of independence that you had at college.
I think, yeah, just really trying to get out and at least put yourself in new situations, like safe ones for sure, but like going out and just like exploring your city. Um, Maybe do a little bit of research of if there's any dangerous parts. But being here in Europe, I've felt so safe. Yeah, I would just get out there and check it out.
This is weirdly specific, but it's spring break here at my university, and we my a couple of my friends have been like off traveling, so I've been by myself a little bit more. But I would just say like I went to York Minster, which is like this really big church and cathedral here, and I went by myself. It was really cool to kind of be able to take it in by myself. And then I also like went to a cafe that I had been looking at for a little bit, also by myself. So I would just say that like obviously it's I feel like it's really common to make a lot of friends. Like I'm gonna miss my friends that I've made here so much, but also not being afraid to do a couple things by yourself. Provided like Matthew said, it is safe. Obviously, you're not doing anything blatantly dangerous, but yeah, using that independence, I think, to your advantage is can be fun sometimes.
Yeah. When I first arrived in Barcelona, Spain, there were two culture shocks I underwent. The first culture shock was being American in Spain. I didn't speak Spanish, and many people didn't speak English, and that was difficult to navigate. Also, the metro, which in Barcelona is beautiful, but sometimes the buses would not show up. Nina Scott, heads up, do not trust the buses in Barcelona. Always go for the subway system if you can. Heads up, Joe, sidebar. But the second culture shock was being out of 103 people in my ISEP program, I was one of few black people. I literally had the darkest skin complexion. So when I first got to Barcelona, it felt lonely and difficult to navigate those two new cultures, especially because as a person who goes to an HBCU, I had never been around so many white people at that time. So although my Ivory brothers and sisters were like cool people, it felt difficult. So to overcome that, my advice to you or anyone else who is struggling with that is to realize that you are the captain of your ship and you are literally in a different country. People are so envious of your position and establish goals for yourself, what you really want to take away from the experience, and just go for them. That's all I have to say.
That's great advice. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Kind of piggybacking off of that question, off of that answer into a related topic is the experience of homesickness, right? And you talked about it with a bit of a different slant, Chase, but I'm curious about for you all, did anybody experience homesickness? What did you do to try to help address your feelings of homesickness?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't necessarily say I guess this is homesick, but it was more missing your close friends and family than the actual place you were. Because truth be told, I'm in a lot cooler of a place now than I was before I studied abroad. So I enjoy the place as much, if not more. But just being able to, I remember the first couple weeks, just spontaneously, I'd reach out to friends I hadn't talked to in like a month just to see how they were doing because you just long for the familiar face or the connection that you haven't seen in a while. And I also would call my parents every weekend, so that helped me as well.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Definitely just miss more of the people side than anything. I didn't really miss any foods or maybe dryers. We don't have good dryers in Europe, or at least where I'm at. Um, but yeah, definitely missing the people is the biggest thing for me too. So reaching out, either FaceTiming, that's really nice. Actually seeing like your loved ones' faces is really cool. Um, but yeah, that's a good way to counteract that area of homesickness.
Awesome. Okay. Our next one, I'm going to use this to cover, there's a lot of packing questions. So we're just going to answer one packing question because we're short on time. Um, number one thing that you would say yes, bring, and number one thing that you would say you can live without bringing.
Yes, bring a battery pack. It will save your life. Don't, you don't have to bring euros. Not really. I use my credit card for every single transaction. You don't have to. You don't have to, but you should. You don't have to. And that's if you're going to Europe. Sorry, I didn't mean to isolate y'all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, one little sidebar off that too. I would make sure you like if you're going to use a credit card or something, I'd make sure that it doesn't have foreign transaction fees. So yeah, make sure to pack that along too.
I just for like a don't forget kind of thing, because I feel like I didn't remember until like a couple weeks before I left, and I had to order it on Amazon. But like outlet adapters, knowing what outlet is used in the country that you're going to, and like whether or not you can use certain electronics on those adapters, because some are like wattage controlled and some are not. So just double checking that you have what you need in that area can be really helpful.
Piggybacking off what Emily said, you may want to check if you're coming from the US and you're used to Amazon priming anything you want at any time. At least in Switzerland, there's no Swiss Amazon, so you can still order packages online, obviously, but it's just not quite as readily available to you. But I also think when packing, if there's something you're like, should I bring it? Should I not? Probably just don't bring it and buy it there if it's like toothpaste or like toiletries or even a lot of clothes. You can find cheap stuff. I'd say keep it to the essentials, and if there's something that you really need, you can just pick it up when you're over here.
Awesome. Okay. Our next question is, can we talk a little bit about academics and how you all experienced the academics abroad as different or similar to your academics at your home university? Does anybody want to jump in?
Yeah, I could. This could not be a universal experience, but for me, there is almost no work to do. It kind of all hinges for me on final projects or final exams. So week to week, it's just keeping up with the readings and going to lectures. And then it's all down to the final exam or final project, where I'm used to in the US doing kind of busy work every week, keeping up with every class. And that was the biggest difference, that sometimes I'm thinking, why am I going to class right now? Like I could go explore somewhere. I do go to class naturally, but it all depends, at least in Switzerland, on the final tests and grades. There's very few assignments, which was kind of a shock.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as Britton. I also don't have any like assignments, like any smaller tests or homework assignments for me. It's all just like midterm and final exams, or papers or whatever is due at the middle of your semester and at the end of your semester. So yeah, just making sure that you're keeping up with your readings, because sometimes you can be like, oh well, I don't have to turn anything in if it's fine if I don't do this one reading this one time, but it really does just depend on you for keeping up with some of those things, which can make it easier if you want to travel. You can do your work kind of with you. You don't have to be there all the time, but yeah, I guess it's just a bit more independent on that front for me, at least in my academic setup here.
In Barcelona, there were two main differences from classes to my home university, which is Morehouse College. The first main difference is there are a lot more group projects, just a lot. And it wasn't bad. Like it was pretty cool. The second main difference is the classes are bigger. For my school, it's a smaller college, so students are like maybe 10 to 20 at the most, and you can always easily make a good relationship with your professor. But there it was 50, at least 50 for each class. So if you are used to a smaller college experience and you're going to Barcelona or another college that is bigger, keep that in mind.
Awesome. Okay. Our next one is, if any of you traveled alone, did you feel unsafe traveling alone? How do you keep your nerves settled when not knowing anybody at first? Did any of you travel alone, or did you end up making friends and traveling with your friends when you were there?
I did a fair bit of solo travel when I first got here. And I come at this like a little bit of privilege being like above average like height and weight guy. Um, but I've always felt super safe here in Europe. Maybe a little too safe. Like weirdly, one of my favorite experiences, I had just come back from a solo trip. It was such a great time, and I had tossed my AirPods walking back from the train station in the middle of the night. I was just grooving. It was such a good time. Uh, yeah, I haven't felt unsafe over here at all, which has been a huge blessing.
All right. we've only got a few minutes left, so I'm going to switch to our last question. So our last question is going to be, what are you most looking forward to with the remainder of your time abroad? Or Chase, I think you're back home already. So for you, what was your favorite part of your time abroad? But for the rest of you, what are you most looking forward to with the remainder of your semester abroad?
For me, it's just more travel, just ticking off more bucket list spots. And also, as the semester goes on, I've made more and more friends. So it goes from solo travel to meeting up with people. There's more places that you have connections that you can stay with, at least for me. So that's getting me more and more excited for the weeks to come going into more warm weather travel.
Yep, I'm in the same boat here. I got a few more destinations I really want to check out and take off the travel bucket list.
I feel like I'm kind of combining the travel and the friend experiences. I've made a couple of friends here who are bringing some friends up from down south in London. So we're going to try to go to a little seaside town on the East Coast and maybe get an Airbnb there for a couple of days. But yeah, I think I'm getting to the point where I'm realizing how much I'm going to miss all the people I've met here. So I'd really just trying to soak up that time with them before I leave is I think what I'm looking forward to right now. But yeah.
Being that my question is, what was my favorite part of my experience? There were so many good parts, but from the perspective of learning a language, it was the ecstasy of going from having the dogs in Spain knowing more Spanish than me to being able to have a fluent conversation. I remember specifically, I was this was like I was literally in the airport about to leave and go home, and my Spanish is the best it's ever been in my life. And I'm like, man, I'm never gonna get, I won't say never, but it will be a while before I ever get this opportunity to just talk to anybody out here and know that they know Spanish. So I literally asked a perfume saleswoman about her life, and we literally had a cool 30-minute conversation while I was waiting for my flight. And it sounds mundane as I describe it to you, but it's really just the high of knowing that all the work you put in has made you able to connect to this person in front of you in a way that you would not have been able to otherwise. So, yeah, man, it's at the point where I get more pleasure talking in Spanish than English. Like, it's real cool. I totally recommend going through that journey and like really immersing yourself. So,
Love
yeah.
that. Opens up a whole new group of people to see the world with and experience it. That's awesome. Well, we are at time. So I want to say a huge thank you to our panelists for joining us today and for sharing your experiences and all of your great advice. We really appreciated you sharing your stories and your guidance with us. And thank you to all of you who attended today. We really appreciate all of your questions. These were really good questions that you all had. So thank you all for being here. And if you have further questions, as a reminder, these are your ISEP Student Services officers. So you can always reach out to them with any questions you have, and they'd be happy to answer them. They're here to support you. And then also, don't forget to connect with ISEP. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And we hope to see you all online and see you sharing your stories online too.
Cool. And
Thank
is
you,
it okay
everybody.
if I leave my information just in case anybody
Yeah,
wants
definitely.
to?
If any of the panelists, if you want to put um your social media in the chat, if folks want to follow you, they can follow you and see your experiences.
Yes, man. Cool. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, everybody. Another huge thank you to our panelists. Thank you all for sharing so much. Bye, everybody.